his partner, Officer John Doyle, runs into frame, delivering the first kick, then another. Around kick number 5, the suspect's left hand is seen covering his head. The officer delivers around 12 kicks.
As he cuffs him.
Today, we're going to look at 3 of some of the most terrifying, horrifying police encounters. These police commit extreme police brutality, police misconduct, and just straight up corruption. These encounters we're about to see today are some of the most everyday occurrences that happen all across America. They just happen to get these 3 occurrences captured on film, but don't let it fool you. It ain't just a couple bad apples. There's a whole police systemic problem all across America, from police abusing the public, and their special move is to try and hide evidence, which one of the instances we're going to see here, a police officer tried as hard as he can to hide this video footage from coming out. So without further ado, the first video we're going to look into is a police encounter where a police officer at full strength kicks a man in the head about 20 times, and luckily it got captured on film. So let's jump right into the first instance, and the last situation we're going to look in at the end of the video is just going to make your head just want to explode. Let's jump right into it.
We've learned that APD Chief Ray Schultz has fired 2 of his officers, captured on video kicking and punching a suspect who was on the ground. The video shows one officer kicking the suspected car thief, who's also a white supremacist, up to 12 times, while his partner held the man down.
Now hold up, because I'm going to defend the Nazi here. He's a Nazi white supremacist KKK. The news said he is. And y'all going to be like, what's that old meme that they say? Oh, everybody wants to beat up a Nazi until somebody actually does, and then y'all want to defend a Nazi. I'm not good defending a Nazi. My whole thing with this situation is you got law enforcement. One officer's holding a man down where he can't move his hands and his body on top of him. So he's holding him down, and the other one is kicking the man in the head full speed, like if he's trying to punt a Super Bowl goal and at the last 10 seconds of the game. And the question is, if we allow them to hold Nazis down and kick them in the head, who's the demographic going to be next? That's my problem with the slippery slope. One day it's Nazis, the next day it's going to be people with monkeys.
News 13's Crystal Gutierrez is in the Newsplex with details.
Dick, the video was released to us today. In February, both officers got into a foot chase with the wanted criminal, but what they did when the suspect was lying on the ground is what was questioned. A security camera set up in a hotel parking garage to catch criminals captures what some call excessive force by 2 police officers in February. The video shows a suspect tackled to the ground. The city confirms Officer Robert Woolover is the one kneeling over him, striking a blow to his side. Then his partner, Officer John Doyle, runs into frame, delivering the first kick, then another. Around kick number 5, the suspect's left hand is seen covering his head. The officer delivers around 12 kicks total. After all of this, some say the video shows the officers celebrating after putting Nicholas Bloom in handcuffs.
Damn, nigga, you got knocked the fuck out. I couldn't resist. But they gave bro bumps, contusions, contortions, concussions. They did bro dirty. And obviously, if there wasn't that camera that was positioned and coincidentally caught that, nothing would have happened. They would just beat him up. He would have been at the police station trying to tell somebody who's going to listen, and nobody cares, and nobody believes you. And then if they do believe you, then they don't care. They know you got your ass beat by them, but they're not going to say nothing. And the officers who beat you up will be sitting at the police station like, we didn't do nothing to this guy. We just arrested him. He tripped and fell, and he's a drug addict. He's a KKK. He makes stuff up. He's crazy. We don't listen to him. And then the whole system would believe them. And that would be the end of it. You would have just got kicked in the face back 20 times in the story. But thankfully, the powers that be, or the universe or whatever, made sure that camera was there. Because today, they caught these sick, corrupt officers. And this is what they do. Those 2 officers, this is what they do. This is not the first time. It's not just him. people that would like to be happy that this happened to, you know, a hateful, bigot, supremacist dude. You know, it's just that the main, to put it in like two sentences or one sentence, you don't want to give discretion to public officials to have the ability to do that. You never want to co-sign this, because if you give them discretion, like if that's okay, then they have discretion to do it to others that you may not like. It's always like just like yin and yang. The gun can always be turned on you. So let's continue the clip. This is a wild one though, bro. They did bro dirty.
This was Bloom's mugshot hours after the arrest was made. Among his charges, auto theft. The chief of police said months ago the officer's actions rose to felony level. Yesterday, a disciplinary hearing was held. Today, sources tell us both officers were fired. Doyle's attorney says it's a bad call.
I think this is more political than anything.
Attorney John D'Amato does not believe this was excessive force, first saying Bloom was a dangerous man and Doyle knew about it.
His criminal history, his history with police, of battering police, running from police, being armed, being a threat to the Southeast Sites Area Command.
D'Amato added, while the video shows the suspect's left hand, the suspect's right hand was tucked under his body.
The right hand could reasonably have contained a firearm.
This attorney is cold-blooded. How in any world, any universe, can somebody watch this video we're all seeing on repeat and come to the conclusion, you know, that was good policing right there. You know, you see his arm up before he puts his arm to cover his head to block getting Super Bowl kicks in the head. Before he did that arm, you can see the arm. He could have reached for a gun or something. He had to keep kicking him in the head. You know, what do you expect them to do? What do you think? We have laws against stuff like this? No, they're good. They're innocent. You know, it's good policing. America, USA. Crazy, bro. I would never understand how people are willing to put their face to a camera and say stuff like this. It truly, unequivocally, just boggles my mind. I don't even know what to say. I'm speechless. We gotta continue the clip.
He says Doyle's kicks were distraction techniques taught to officers.
It could have been 36 kicks. It could have been one kick. He could have pulled his right hand out, got handcuffed, and it would have been over.
And what about this celebration? D'Amato says no. What do they do here?
They give each other a hug. You're going to be okay.
It's going to be okay, buddy. Give me a hug. Give me a hug, buddy. Give me a hug. It's okay. I kicked him in the face about 20 sometimes for you, and we survived, bro. Are you kidding me? You got to be kidding me. And then the attorney's up there like, could have kicked him in the head 37 times. It's a distraction technique. You know, you just got to keep banging him full throttle in the face. Distraction technique. His mugshot sure as hell didn't look like a distraction technique to me. Look at this. That's a distraction technique? I just want to point out that you have these attorneys who lie like this on a regular basis that are just stone cold liars and have no, it's called candor, but just have no just respect, no morals, it seems. And these people be elected as judges. A lot of judges, well, all judges, the majority, well, not all judges, there's some jurisdictions where you don't even have to have a law degree, but that's for another topic. But higher court judges, they're lawyers. And some of those judges that are sitting in these judge seats have been filing paperwork like this attorney here, filing crazy off the wall paperwork, filing crazy off the wall, motions, showing up to court, saying this stuff to a judge in a courtroom, defending somebody, just straight up just callous lies, crazy, disgusting lies. And the point I'm just making is that you have judges that have a history of doing conduct like this attorney we're seeing. Anybody who's watching this video seeing this attorney is just like, this dude's a straight up just piece of garbage. Like he's crazy, he's wacko. Well, the judge at your local courthouse right now, odds are, has the same type of mentality. That's the America that we live in. If you know it or not, you haven't been to courtrooms a lot, you may not know, but it goes on a lot, just like that. But I digress before I get on a long rant about that, which I could talk for hours about that, but let's continue.
Now, police did not know if Bloom had a gun on him, but they suspected it. Turns out he didn't have a gun on him, but there was one in the stolen pickup truck he crashed and abandoned during the chase. Back to you.
All right, Crystal, on the night of his arrest, Bloom was wanted on 11 felony charges, including kidnapping and armed robbery. APD says Chief Schultz was not available to talk today about the firings.
Look, I don't know with this one. You know the old saying, when somebody's famous and the community is like, when an honorable person is famous that does good and has good morals, and people say, we finally made the right person famous. Well, in this situation, maybe the police finally brutalized and kicks the right person in the fucking head. I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe you do. This dude is nuts, rap sheet crazy, stealing cars, got a gun, wanting on 11 felonies, white supremacist, KKK. He's like a literal menace to society. You could, bro is literally GTA in real life, the person, bro. Like, so I don't agree with this, of course. I'm curious what y'all got to say in the conversation. I don't like the slippery slope aspect of it, but bro, it's kind of hard to defend the police brutality against you over here, bro. You know, I don't like to see police doing this, but you out here in the world kind of doing, you know what I'm saying, doing a little bit too much out here. But let's move on to somebody that unequivocally should not have had this happen to them. We have a man on a routine traffic stop, and the next thing you know, the police are body slamming him on the ground because I guess they don't like what he had to say, or he didn't move fast enough, or whatever. There's no good reason for this. Let's jump right into it.
A local police officer is fired over this dash cam video, new at 6, how investigators say the officer tried to prevent others from seeing it. Just released dash cam video shows a St. Petersburg police officer throwing a man to the ground during a drunk driving stop. Kenneth Pynek was fired yesterday. All new at 6, our Jacqueline Ingles is live in St. Pete. And Jacqueline, I understand this is not the first time Pynek has been the focus of an internal investigation.
That's right. Pynek began working here at the department in 2007, and last year he was suspended for having an inappropriate relationship with a teen. And now the video you're about to see got him fired.
Put the brakes. Hold on. Did we hear this correctly? He had an inappropriate relationship with a teen, a child. And he didn't get fired. He didn't get criminally charged. He got suspended. I didn't hear without pay, so I'm assuming suspended with pay. So he had an inappropriate relationship with a teenager, a child, and you gave him, the department gave him a paid vacation. I'm hearing this correctly, right? And then you continue to let him be out on the force until he brutalizes somebody. You're going to see this, the situation and circumstances around this body camera becoming accessible to the public is ridiculous.
And last year he was suspended for having an inappropriate relationship with a teen. And now the video you're about to see got him fired. Take a look.
Even Mr. Woodward. Yeah. Officer Pynek about trafficking. It concerns that maybe you had too much to drink to be behind the wheel of a car tonight.
The dash cam video you're looking at is from the night of January 31st. In it, you can see St. Pete police officer Kenneth Pynek questioning DUI suspect Stephen Woodworth.
You're going to shut up and listen while I'm talking.
Now, watch and listen to what happens when the 45-year-old suspect won't comply with being questioned.
You know what?
Pynek throws down his clipboard, swears, then throws Woodworth onto the ground, cuffs him, and arrests him for DUI.
He's up here telling grown men, you're going to shut up and you're going to listen to me when I talk to you. You know, I'm God over you right now. You know, you want to keep talking. You know what? Puts the clipboard down, grabs the guy, slams the guy on the ground. Meanwhile, this cop is literally the guy having inappropriate relationships with minors. I mean, at least that part, you know, makes sense and checks out, you know, that he would be that guy.
It's very clear that he took inappropriate actions.
According to department policy, Pynek should have turned the dash cam video over to the state attorney's office as evidence in their DUI investigation. But he didn't. Instead, Pynek reportedly told the state attorney the recording was of no evidentiary value and it would, quote, disappear.
The officer had a definite lapse in judgment.
Suspicious of Pynek's words, the state attorney requested the official video and notified Pynek's superiors. Pynek's supervisors say he only turned over a portion of the dash cam that showed him transporting Woodworth to jail. That touched off an internal affairs investigation that ended with Pynek being fired for using excessive force.
It was unacceptable behavior.
Yeah, we know. We have eyes. They talk to us like we're babies, like we're kids. That was unacceptable behavior. No shit. He slammed the guy on the ground, fabricated charges on him. He didn't perform a field sobriety test there. It doesn't show that he performed a breathalyzer. It looks like he just got mad, beat the guy up, threw him on the ground or whatever, slammed him, and it just took him to jail and just charged him with DUI. And then he tried to do a cover-up. What I'm not hearing in this news report is, I'm hearing him getting fired, but what about, assault charges, battery on somebody? Why don't we have criminal charges for that? What about the multitude of, destruction of evidence, obstruction of justice, trying to obstruct an investigation? All these multitude of charges that they charge regular folk with. Why is he getting a pass for that? They try to give people obstruction for standing too close to police officers. You're standing too close to us. You're hindering our investigation. We're going to arrest you for obstruction of justice. But he can do all this? They don't make no sense here. But let me tell you, two-tier justice system. You got to hold your political government officials accountable. You got to make a lot of noise. When these situations happen, you got to just shake the whole system up. Otherwise, they don't care. Situation dies down. They move on. Nobody cares. Anyway, moving on to another situation of somebody getting their head punted, tied game, 10 seconds, last, play, pump fake, boom, hit the Super Bowl kick. Somebody's head gets kicked like that. Check this out.
A former Atlanta police officer has pleaded guilty to beating a teenager during an arrest, and it was caught on camera. Matthew Johns admitted to the crime today in a Fulton County courthouse, but has not yet been sentenced for it. Joining us now, Caitlin Nass. Caitlin, why was there a delay in this case?
The former Marine told his attorney he was suffering from PTSD.
Everybody hold the trial up. He got PTSD. Hold judge, hold up. Prosecutor, hold up. We got to delay this. This man got some PTSD. He a cop too. He got to spend some time with his family. Before he get his little probation, before he's not allowed to, I don't know. What do they tell cops they can't do on probation? They can't beat their wife up? I don't know. You lose. We got to hold the case because he needs to get a couple more beatings in on his wife before he gets sentenced and he loses those privileges. Which I'm just kidding. There's no evidence that he beats his wife. But cops do have the occupation that is the number one likelihood if you're a woman, you marry a cop, the number one occupation has the highest likelihood to get a woman beater. And I wonder why. It attracts narcissists apparently. But come on, PTSD, really?
So she asked the judge to wait on sentencing until they get him evaluated. After the hearing, he was visibly upset and said he didn't want to talk to anyone. The prosecution played the video of the assault in front of the entire courtroom. You can see Johns kick the teenager in the head 3 times before kneeling on his neck as he cuffs him.
I do forgive him for what he did, but I do feel like he's in the wrong because ever since after the incident, I've been traumatized. So I do forgive him for what he did, but I feel like he should be punished for what he did.
John's new sentencing date is July 29th. He could have been facing 40 years in prison, but under the plea deal, the prosecution is asking for 5 years with 2 to serve in jail.
All right, so I was skeptical about the sentencing here because judges never sentence cops properly. But the outside variable of when a cop or a public official does get a real sentence for their crimes, it's always in a big major metropolitan area like a big city. This is Atlanta. So it's not surprising that a judge gave a real sentence. I'm about to tell you the sentence, but in those rural areas, a lot of times the judges are scared of the sheriffs and the police. A lot of times those judges don't have balls. A lot of times those judges know the sheriff and the police and it's a connection, and they always giving these crazy light sentences under judicial discretion where you're just like, yeah, that wasn't justice was served. But in the big cities, it's just so many people don't know each other. There's, in Atlanta, there's millions and millions of people like walking around all over the place, and so you don't have these connections where everybody knows everybody who knows everybody in a small town. So, but this is what I always tell you: whenever the district attorney gives plea deals, the judge doesn't have to take it. And the judge didn't hear. So he was looking at 40, but then the plea deal was, if you take this, so he plead. And I love when they do this. I love when you get a cop or official to plead and then you don't even take the plea. It's like a spit in their face. I love it. So he pled guilty and took the plea deal for 20 years, but to serve 2. So that was the agreement between him for committing this crime. And by the way, the kid was kicked unconscious. So it's a 14-year-old that was kicked in the head by this guy, and he was unconscious. The video of him unconscious is too graphic to show. So it's a child you did this to, and then, this is what the judge did. So he agreed as the officer. I agree, and he signed all the paper from the prosecutor office. I'm gonna serve 2 years in prison and then 18 years probation. The judge said, nope. You're getting 5 years in prison to serve. You're taking your ass to prison for 5 years for this. You're going to serve time. And then when you get out, you're going to be on 15 years probation. If you're on good behavior and nothing happened. And then on probation, you better follow all the rules or you get sent back into prison. So shout out to this judge. I tried to find a picture of the judge. Her name was Judge Constable Russell out of Atlanta. And apparently she left office a few years ago. I couldn't find a picture of her. I wanted to be like, here we go. We got a good judge here. Sad that she left office. It's like, damn, girl, we needed you up in there. How you going to leave office? Your ass need to stay up there till old age. We was counting on you. You holding officials accountable. You're the one we need in there. Damn, girl. But anyway, y'all, so I guess the video ends in a good ending, and I'll hit y'all at the next one. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe, share button. Peace.
Every spiritual tradition, from the Gnostics to the Hermeticists, has whispered the same terrifying truth for thousands of years. Reality is not a painting. It is a code. And you have been given the interface to hack this code. But you were taught to use it backwards. That interface is what you call language. Specifically, the English language. You believe English is merely a tool for communication, a neutral medium to convey thoughts from one mind to another. This is the first and most fatal deception. English is not a tool for communication. It is a system of encoded commands. It is a software layer laid over the raw consciousness of the human experience. When you speak, you are not describing the world. You are executing a script. You have been unwittingly trained in a system of magic so pervasive that you do not even notice it. You are a wizard who has been tricked into thinking he is a muggle, walking around firing off loaded guns while believing they are merely toys. But here is the danger, and this is the question you must ask yourself right now. If language is a code that programs reality, who wrote the source code? Who designed the syntax? If you are speaking a language designed by an architect you do not know, are you serving your own will? Or are you manifesting the will of the architect? We will expose who these architects are later in this video, and the answer will chill you to the bone. But first, we must look at the mechanism of the trap itself. Let us begin with the most obvious clue, hidden in plain sight. When you were a child, seated in a classroom under fluorescent lights, you were not asked to write a word. You were asked to spell it. Think about that. Why do we use that word? In any other context, a spell is a magical operation. A witch casts a spell. A wizard casts a spell. To cast a spell is to manipulate energy to alter reality. Yet, we accept without question that the act of arranging letters in a specific order is called spelling. This is not a coincidence. This is a confession. The word spell comes from the Proto-Germanic word spellum, which means a story, a message, or an incantation. To spell is to bind. When you arrange letters which are simply symbols or sigils into a specific order, you are creating a frequency lock. You are taking the infinite, chaotic potential of a thought and trapping it in a rigid form. You are freezing energy. Consider the tools you use. You use a pen. Etymologically, pen comes from penna, meaning a feather or a wing, symbolizing the element of air and the intellect. But look deeper. In the occult tradition, the wand is the tool of the magician, used to direct will. Your pen is your wand. You write on paper, which comes from papyrus. But the ancient Egyptians didn't just use papyrus for taxes. They used it for the Book of the Dead. When you write a word, you are performing a ritual. You are collapsing the wave function of potentiality into a single, defined particle of reality. But here is the catch. If you misspell a word in school, you are punished. Why? Because in magic, if you mispronounce the incantation, the spell fails, or worse, it backfires. The system demands you spell correctly because it demands you replicate the program exactly as it was written by the controllers. But what happens when the shape of the letters themselves carries a curse? We will get to the dark secret of cursive writing shortly. But first, we must understand the sound. You must understand that the universe is acoustic. In the beginning was the word. This is not a metaphor, it is physics. Sound creates geometry. This science is called cymatics. If you play a specific frequency into a plate of sand, the sand organizes itself into complex, beautiful geometric mandalas. The sound forces the matter into a shape. Your voice is a frequency generator. Your larynx is a biological instrument designed to project sound waves into the ether. When you speak, you are literally structuring the air around you into geometric patterns. You are constantly breathing creation into the atmosphere. But here is the problem. Most of us are speaking words we do not understand. We are using definitions provided by a dictionary, a book of dictations, without knowing the true etymological root of the sounds we are making. For example, you say you go to work in the morning. Phonetically, this is identical to mourning, the state of grieving for the dead. Why do we start our day with a vibration of grief? You say hello to greet someone. This contains the word hell and low. You are vibrationally lowering the frequency of the interaction to a hell state. You might think this is a stretch, that these are just homophones, but the universe does not care about your intent. It cares about the frequency. The resonance is the resonance. If you are walking around vibrating mourning, hell, and weak into the ether, you are creating a geometric cage around your own consciousness. You are casting unintended frequencies. You are a chaotic magician flooding the control room of reality with garbage data, and then you wonder why your life feels like a glitch. But it gets worse. It is not just the words, it is the structure that holds them together. This brings us to the architecture of the prison. Grammar. You went to grammar school. You learned the rules of grammar. But what is grammar? If you trace the etymology back to the old French grammaire, you find it refers to learning, particularly Latin and philology. But in the mid-17th century, a linguistic shift occurred. The word grammaire evolved into a very specific variant, grimoire. A grimoire is a book of magic instructions. It is a manual for summoning spirits, binding demons, and casting enchantments. Do not miss the significance of this. The roots of grammar and grimoire are identical. They are the same word. The system of rules governing how you speak and write is, by definition, a system of magic. When you learn grammar, you are learning how to construct a spell. You are learning the subject, the verb, and the object. You are learning how to subject the object to your verb. It is a mechanism of dominance. It is a mechanism of control. The education system was not designed to make you free. It was designed to make you a predictable caster of approved spells. They gave you the grimoire, told you it was a textbook, and watched as you built your own prison cell, sentence by sentence. But this raises a terrifying question. If the language is a grimoire, and we are the unwitting magicians, what exactly are we summoning? And more importantly, when you learned your ABCs, what entities did you agree to let into your mind? The alphabet is not just a list of letters. It is a housing system for spirits. Alpha is the beginning. Beta is the house. The alphabet is the house of the beginning. But who lives in that house? To understand this, we must look at the masters of the written word, the scribes, and the ancient curse of the W. That is what we will uncover in part 2. We left off with a disturbing realization that grammar and grimoire are historically and functionally the same word. When you open a grammar book, you are opening a manual of magic designed to bind thought into a fixed structure. But to understand the depth of this binding, we must look at the building blocks themselves. We must look at the alphabet. You are taught that the alphabet is merely a collection of 26 arbitrary sounds. This is a lie designed to strip you of your power. The word alphabet comes from the first 2 letters of the Greek alphabet, alpha and beta. These are derived from the Phoenician aleph and bet. Aleph means ox or cattle, symbolizing primal strength, the beginning, the unbridled power of the creator. Bet means house or tent, symbolizing a container, a structure, or a dwelling place. Therefore, the alphabet is literally the power inside the house. It is the method by which the raw, chaotic power of creation, the alpha, is domesticated and trapped within a rigid structure, the beta. When you learn the alphabet, you are not learning to express yourself. You are learning to house your consciousness within a prefabricated construct. You are putting the ox in the pen. And notice the terminology. We call them characters. A character is a fictional entity. It is a mark stamped or engraved. When you use these characters, you are stamping your reality with symbols that have been charged with meaning for thousands of years before you were even born. You are using someone else's sigils. This brings us to the act of inscription. We use the word write, W-R-I-T-E, but phonetically, your brain hears write, R-I-T-E. A rite is a ceremonial act, a formal procedure, a ritual usage. In the ancient world, the scribes were not merely secretaries. They were a priestly caste. They were the keepers of the Thothian mysteries. Only the scribe had the power to make a law real. A king could say a decree, but until the scribe performed the rite of writing it down, it had no binding power in the physical world. This is the transition from the oral tradition to the written tradition. The oral tradition was fluid, living, and breathing. It changed with the speaker. It was alive. The written tradition is fixed, dead, and immutable. It is the letter of the law. The letter killeth, but the spirit giveth life. When you write something down, you are killing the possibility of it being anything else. You are collapsing the wave. You are performing a rite. Think about the documents that control your life. A birth certificate, a marriage license, a death certificate. These are all rites performed by writers, clerks, and registrars that bind your living soul to a dead legal status. You did not write these documents, yet you obey them. You are living inside a rite that was cast upon you before you could speak, and this ritual is maintained by a script. The word scripture is viewed as holy text, but remove the suffix and you have script. What is a script? A script is a set of lines given to an actor who has no free will of their own. An actor reads a script. He does not think, he recites. He does not act, he reacts. We are living in a society that is literally prescribed. To prescribe means to write before. The doctor gives you a prescription, a script written beforehand that dictates your health. The media gives you a description, writing down the reality they want you to see. You are constantly being handed scripts for how to behave, how to feel, and how to speak. Psychologists call this priming. By exposing a subject to a specific word or image, you can program their subsequent behavior without their conscious awareness. The entire English language is a massive priming mechanism. It is a script designed to keep you in character. And who is that character? It is the person. The word person comes from the Latin persona, which literally means mask. It was the mask worn by actors in Greek theatre to project their voice. When you learn to spell and use grammar, you are learning how to keep your mask on. You are learning how to stay on script. The system fears nothing more than an improvisational actor, someone who goes off script, who speaks words that are not in the grimoire. That is why they enforce the rules of grammar so ruthlessly in schools. It is not about clarity. It is about conformity. It is about ensuring the actors do not realize they are on a stage. We have established that the alphabet is the cage and the script is the programming. But a cage is useless if the prisoner can simply float away. To truly bind a human soul to this artificial reality, you need something more than just static block letters. You need a way to harness the flow of their energy. You need to direct their life force into a closed loop. Think about how you were taught to sign your name. You were not allowed to print it. You had to use a specific flowing style of writing. A style that connects every letter to the next, creating a continuous, unbroken chain. A style that loops and knots itself like a rope. They called it cursive. Why cursive? Why does it sound exactly like curse? And why, in the world of commerce and law, is the flow of money called currency and the flow of electricity called current? There is a reason they force you to join your letters together. They are not just teaching you penmanship. They are teaching you how to direct the current of your will into a specific sea of maritime law. But the danger of cursive goes far deeper than just legal signatures. It is about the geometry of the loop. When you write in cursive, you are drawing sigils that trap energy in a feedback loop, preventing it from ascending. In the next part, we are going to deconstruct the spelling bee, the weak, and the hidden Saturnian worship that drains your energy every single weekend. We will see how the cursive script binds you to the currency of debt and death. Stay focused, because the water is about to get deep. We concluded the last section with the disturbing reality of the script and the actor. But a script is just ink on paper until energy flows through it. In the occult anatomy of this reality system, that energy is you. You are the battery, and the wire that conducts your energy into the machine is what we call cursive. Let us dissect the word cursive. It is derived from the medieval Latin cursivus, meaning running. This connects directly to the word course. A river runs a course. A courser is a swift horse or a runner. But look closer at the phonetics. Cursive is audibly indistinguishable from cursive. To write in cursive is to actively engage in a curse. But what is the nature of this curse? It is the curse of the loop. Unlike printing, where each letter stands alone as a sovereign individual, cursive forces every letter to be bound to the next. There is no break. There is no breath. It is a continuous chain. When you sign your name in cursive, you are symbolically chaining your identity. You are creating a sigil that says, I am not a collection of independent moments. I am a slave to the continuous flow. And what is flowing? The current. This is why electricity and water share the same terminology. Rivers have currents, wires have currents, and in the financial system, money is currency. The system is designed to harvest the currency of your energy. Just as a riverbank directs the flow of water, a bank directs the flow of your currency. By teaching you cursive, the school system wired your brain to accept the concept of uninterrupted flow toward a destination you did not choose. You were taught to channel your thoughts not as distinct, critical analysis, but as a fluid, unquestioning stream that flows straight into the ocean of commerce. They turned your mind into a conduit, but if cursive is the wire, we must ask, what is the structure of the hive that this wire feeds? This brings us to one of the most bizarre and seemingly innocent rituals of the modern education system, the spelling bee. Have you ever stopped to ask, why a bee? Night. Why not a spelling bear or a spelling eagle? Why choose an insect known for its hive mind, its total lack of individuality, and its slave-like devotion to a queen? The spelling bee is a ritual of indoctrination into the collective consciousness. In a hive, the worker bee has no self. It exists only to serve the colony. It gathers nectar, the raw energy of nature, and processes it into honey for the consumption of the elite within the hive. In school, the student is the worker bee. The nectar is your attention and your potential. The system extracts this energy and uses it to build the structure of society, the hexagon. The honeycomb is a lattice of hexagons. In sacred geometry, the hexagon is the 2D projection of the cube. As we will see shortly, the cube is the symbol of Saturn, the god of restriction and time. By participating in a spelling bee, children are symbolically agreeing to become drones in the Saturnian hive. They are competing to see who is the best at following orders, who is the best at replicating the code without error. The winner is not the one with the most creative ideas. The winner is the one who best adheres to the rigid laws of the grimoire. You were trained to be a drone. You were trained to be a speller, to cast spells for the hive, and this training is reinforced every single day, from the moment you open your eyes. Let us look at your daily cycle. You do not just get up, you wake up. Why do we use the word wake? A wake is a funeral gathering held to watch over the dead body. A wake is also the trail of disturbed water left behind a ship. In both cases, it signifies something that has passed, something that is behind you, or something that is dead. When you wake up in the morning, you are entering a state of spiritual death. Mourning is phonetically identical to mourning, the expression of deep sorrow for someone who has died. Why is the start of our day codified with the language of grief? Because in the eyes of the system, the moment you wake up and identify with your legal name and your job, you have killed your true, infinite spirit. You have entered the world of the dead fiction. You are a sole proprietor, S-O-L-E, which sounds like soul, S-O-U-L. But the system trades your soul for the sole of your foot, planting you firmly on the ground of materialism. You go to your job. In the Bible, Job was the man who was tested by Satan, stripped of his wealth and health, and forced to suffer. When you say, I have a Job, you are invoking the archetype of the suffering servant. You are agreeing to be tested and drained. And you do this every day, waiting for the weekend. But the week itself is a cage of time, constructed by the ancient cults of the sky. The word week is a homophone for weak. We are made weak by the weak. It is a cycle designed to deplete you. You work to become strong, yet the very container of your time tells you that you are frail. And what do you look forward to? The weekend. You look forward to the moment your strength, weak, ends. It is a linguistic trap that equates the passage of time with the loss of vitality. Look at the days themselves. They are not arbitrary names. They are invocations of planetary deities that govern the prison of time. Monday is Moon Day. The moon governs the tides, the water, the emotions, and lunacy. It is a day of fluctuating moods and emotional instability. But the true master of the calendar is waiting at the end. Saturday. Saturday is Saturn's day. Saturn is the god of time, Kronos. He is the Grim Reaper. He is the Lord of Rings, the rings that bind and restrict. He is represented by the black cube. When you live for the weekend, you are living for Saturn. You are working all week to offer your energy to the god of restriction. This is why we feel drained. We are trapped in a chronological loop, circling the black sun of Saturn, repeating the same spells, casting the same curses with our cursive signatures, and mourning our own spiritual death every morning. We are trapped in a time loop, but the prison walls are not just made of time, they are made of law. The words you speak do not just drain your energy, they legally bind you to a contract you never read. We call these bindings sentences, and just like a prisoner serving a term, your life is defined by the sentences you speak. In the next part, we are going to walk into the courtroom of reality. We will expose the straw man, the legal fiction, and why the judge asks you if you understand. The answer to that question is the difference between freedom and slavery. Do not look away, because we are about to put the English language on trial. Welcome to the courtroom. You may think you are sitting in a chair watching a video, but legally and vibrationally, you are standing in the dock. We ended the last section by putting the English language on trial, and now we must read the charges. The system has tricked you into policing yourself, and it does this through the structure of the sentence. Consider the word carefully. In a grammatical context, a sentence is a complete thought expressed in words. In a legal context, a sentence is a punishment assigned to a defendant found guilty by a court. Why do these two disparate concepts share the exact same label? It is not a homonym. It is a functional description. When you speak a grammatical sentence, you are literally pronouncing a legal sentence upon yourself. You are the judge, the jury, and the executioner of your own reality. You are decreeing the parameters of your existence. I am sick. I am broke. I am tired. You have just passed a sentence. You have commanded the ether to confine you within those conditions. The universe, acting as the bailiff, simply nods and executes the order. This is why we must define our terms. You sign terms and conditions. But what is a term? In Roman mythology, Terminus was the god of boundaries. He was the god of the fence, the border, and the limit. To define a word is to place a limit around it. Infinite potential cannot be defined. By speaking in defined terms, you are collapsing the infinite possibility of your life into a small, fenced-in yard. You are agreeing to be limited, and the entity asking you to agree to these limits is the same one asking you the most dangerous question in the English language. This brings us to the trap we teased at the end of the last segment. When a police officer, a judge, or an authority figure recites your rights or gives you an order, they will almost always ask you one specific question. Do you understand? Your parents asked you this. Your teachers asked you this. You think they are asking, do you comprehend the meaning of the words I just spoke? They are not. In the language of legalese, which sounds like English, but is actually a distinct foreign language of enslavement, the word understand means to stand under. To stand under is to accept liability. It is to place yourself beneath the authority of the one speaking. It is to agree to be the foundation that supports their structure. When you say, yes, I understand, you are verbally signing a contract that says, I agree to be the subject, and you are the master. You are waiving your sovereignty. You are acquiescing. Silence is often taken as consent, but speaking I understand is absolute confirmation of submission. You have cast a spell on yourself that binds you to their jurisdiction. And once you are in their jurisdiction, they do not deal with you, the living, breathing soul. They deal with the fiction. They deal with the straw man. Look at your driver's license. Look at your credit card. Look at any bill sent to your house. How is your name written? It is written in all capital letters. John Doe. You might think this is just for clarity. It is not. In grammar, proper nouns are capitalized only at the beginning. In Roman civil law, writing a name in all capitals signifies capitis diminutio maxima, the maximum diminution of rights. It indicates a status of a slave or a non-entity. The name in all caps is not you. It is a corporation created by the state at your birth. It is a straw man. It is a legal fiction, a mask, a persona. When you identify with that name, you are animating a corpse, and the system tells you this plainly. What is a business called? A corporation. The root is corpus, meaning body, but specifically a dead body, a corpse. A corporation is a dead body that has been given the legal rights of a person. When you work for a corporation, you are part of a dead body. When you incorporate yourself, you are deadening your spirit to play a game of commerce. The language of business is the language of death. You take out a mortgage. The root is mort, meaning death, and gage, meaning pledge. A mortgage is literally a death pledge. You are pledging your labor until you die, or until the debt is killed. You go to work to earn a living. Phonetically, an urn is a vessel for keeping the ashes of the dead. You are filling your urn. You undertake a project. An undertaker prepares the dead for burial. The entire financial system is a necromantic ritual designed to manage the energy of the dead. And how do they transport this dead energy? They use the law of water. We mentioned the current and the sea earlier. This is not poetic, it is legal literalism. There are two types of law: common law, the law of the land, and maritime admiralty law, the law of the water, commerce. You were born from your mother's water. You came down the birth canal. Because you came from water, you must be docked. A ship sits in a berth. You were given a birth certificate. The dock doctor signed it. This certificate is a warehouse receipt. It proves that a new vessel has arrived at the port of commerce. Why do we have citizenship? Because we are on the ship. Why do we have ownership? Because we are on the ship. Why do we have relationship? Because we are on the ship. We are lost at sea. We are drowning in a sea of debt and legalese, governed by the laws of pirates and merchants. The magistrate controls the magic. They have constructed a world where you are nothing but a vessel for cargo, and that cargo is your life force. So, here we stand. We have realized that spelling is casting spells. Grammar is a grimoire. Cursive is a curse. The weak makes us weak. And our sentences are prison bars constructed by a mortgage on our souls. The system is watertight. It seems inescapable. Every word you speak tightens the knot. Every time you say, "I understand," you dig the hole deeper. This is the point of despair. This is where most people turn off the video and go back to sleep, because the truth is too heavy to bear. But you are still here. And because you are still here, you are ready for the key. The trap relies on one thing: your participation. It relies on you continuing to recite the script. But what happens if you stop? What happens if you stop spelling and start speaking? What happens if you stop using their definitions and reclaim the power of the original logos? There is a frequency that breaks the glass. There is a way to speak that shatters the mirror. The most powerful counterspell is not a complex incantation. It is a shift in identity. In the final part, we are going to hand you the weapon. We are going to teach you the difference between legal fiction and lawful presence. We will show you how to use the two most powerful words in the universe to burn the strawman script to ash. Silence is golden, but the right words are diamond. The spell breaks in 3, 2, 1. The prison door is open. It has been open the whole time. The only thing keeping you inside the cell was the sentence you kept repeating to yourself. We have explored the dark architecture of the spell. the grimoire, and the death pledge of commerce. But how do we walk out? You do not walk out by fighting the system. You cannot use the master's tools to dismantle the master's house. You cannot use a counter-curse written in the same cursive that bound you. You must switch frequencies. You must move from legal fiction to lawful truth. In the legal world, truth is relative to the contract. But in the real world, the truth is the truth, or the tree. It is rooted. It is solid. It connects the earth to the sky. To break the spell, you must return to the Logos. The Logos is the original, creative thought before it was trapped in the box of the alphabet. It is the intent behind the sound. The system relies on trust. Have you ever noticed that trust sounds like trust? To be trust is to be tied up, like a chicken prepared for the oven. Do not trust the system. Do not allow yourself to be tied up by their definitions. You must stop speaking the language of the dead and start speaking the language of the living. This requires a radical change in your vocabulary, starting with the most powerful defense mechanism you possess: silence. We mentioned that the system asks if you understand. Stand under. The moment you speak, you enter their jurisdiction. Jurisdiction comes from juris law and diction speech. Jurisdiction literally means to speak the law. If you speak their words, you are in their law. But what happens if you remain silent? In the realm of commerce, silence can be acquiescence. But in the realm of sovereignty, silence is a shield. It is the refusal to engage in the ritual. When you are questioned by an agent of the Matrix and you refuse to recite the script, you cause a glitch. They do not know how to process a unit that does not output data. You must learn to withhold your consent. Consent comes from con, together, and sentire, to feel. To consent is to feel together, to vibrate at the same frequency. If you do not vibrate with their frequency of fear and submission, you cannot consent. You are invisible to their magic. You are a ghost in the machine. But you cannot stay silent forever. You are a creator. You must create. And to create, you must speak. But you must cleanse your dictionary of the slave words. Stop saying, "I will try." The word try implies failure. It implies struggle without success. Do not try to do something. Intend to do it. Intent is a vector. It has direction and magnitude. Stop saying, "I hope." Hope is the waiting room of the soul. It places your power in the hands of an external force, somewhere in the future. It is a passive state of begging. Replace hope with will. I will. This is not a request. It is a command to the ether. Stop saying, "I need." Need implies a lack. It implies you are without. The universe is a mirror. If you scream, "I need," it will reflect back more need. It will give you more lack. Replace "I need" with "I require" or "I create." And stop paying attention. When you pay attention, you are giving away your currency. You are spending your life force. Start placing your attention. Place it like a cornerstone. Be the architect, not the consumer. But above all, there is one phrase that controls the entire simulation. It is the master key. It is the name of the creator within you. The two most powerful words in the English language, or any language, are I am. I am is the declaration of existence. It is the spark of divinity. Whatever you place after I am becomes your reality. It is the ultimate spell. When you say, "I am tired," you are commanding your cells to vibrate with lethargy. When you say, "I am broke," you are commanding your reality to repel resources. When you say, "I am just a human," you are denying your infinite nature. The system wants you to identify with the strawman. It wants you to say, "I am John Doe, the driver, the employee, the defendant." No, you are none of those things. Those are coats you wear. You must reclaim the I am. I am eternal. I am sovereign. I am author. Notice the word authority. You cannot have authority without being the author. The author is the one who writes the script. Up until today, you have been the actor reading someone else's lines. You have been reading the grimoire of the grammar school. Today, you pick up the pen. Today, you write your own right. We have journeyed through the phonetic trap, the cursive curse, and the legal sentence. You now see the bars of the cage, and because you see them, you can walk through them. The next time you pick up a pen, remember that you are wielding a wand. The next time you open your mouth, remember that you are tuning the frequency of your world. Stop spelling for the hive. Stop casting spells that bind you to the dead. Start speaking the living word. This is not the end of the deception. We have only dismantled the code of words. But there is a deeper, colder code that underpins the structure of this reality. The code of numbers, the spell of mathematics. If you think the alphabet was a trap, wait until you see what they have done with the number 0. But that is a story for another time.
There we go. I want
Watch
to hear
your
that
words, for they become your world. Do not let them sentence you. Be the author. Class dismissed.
I wonder if I can find that. No, he didn't do it yet.
Look at the screen. You are looking at two completely different symbols. One is the Rod of Asclepius, the ancient mark of healing. The other is the Caduceus, the staff of Hermes. In ancient mythology, Hermes was the patron god of commerce, liars, and thieves. This is not a graphic design error. It is a spell. For the next 30 minutes, we are going to dismantle the sigil that hangs over every hospital bed in the West. We are going to prove that the medical industry is not designed to heal you, but to maintain the prison vessel you occupy. First, we will expose the intentional mistake made in 1902 that cursed modern healthcare. Second, we will decode the occult anatomy of your spine that this symbol actually represents. And finally, we will uncover the evidence that this symbol is the smoking gun of a post-apocalyptic restart, proof that your ancestors were genetically superior to you. They want you to believe it was just a clerical error. The history books, the ones approved by the very institutions we are questioning, will tell you a story about a simple mix-up. They say that in the year 1902, a man named Captain Frederick Reynolds, a simplistic officer in the United States Army Medical Corps, made a graphic design mistake. The story goes that the Army needed a new logo to stamp onto their uniforms and ambulances, and Reynolds, seemingly confused by the visual similarities, chose the staff with 2 snakes instead of the single serpent. They claim he just thought it looked symmetrical. They claim he thought it looked prestigious. But we know that in the world of high-level occultism and global engineering, there are no accidents. Symbols are the programming language of reality. You do not accidentally summon a specific deity and plaster his sigil on every hospital in the Western world unless you intend to invoke his energy. I want you to picture the 2 contenders for this symbol in your mind, because the choice between them is the choice between 2 different realities for the human race. First, imagine the Rod of Asclepius. This is the ancient true mark of the healer. Picture a rough wooden staff. It is simple. It is grounded. Wrapped around it is a single serpent, shedding its skin. Asclepius was the Greek god of medicine. His mythology is critical here. Asclepius was so skilled in the arts of surgery and herbalism that he actually discovered the secret to physical immortality. He began to resurrect the dead. He found the glitch in the death program. And what happened to him? Zeus, the king of the gods, the warden of this prison planet, struck Asclepius down with a thunderbolt. Why? Because Asclepius was disrupting the natural order. He was stopping the flow of souls to the underworld. He was breaking the cycle of recycling that this system depends on. The single snake represents the shedding of skin, the renewal of life within the body, and a rejection of death. Now, contrast that with the symbol they actually chose, the caduceus, the staff of Hermes. Visualize it. It is not a rough wooden stick. It is often depicted as gold or metallic. It is smooth. At the top, it has wings, bird's wings, ready for flight. And instead of one snake, there are two. They are intertwined in a complex double helix, fighting for position. This is where the deception becomes sophisticated. Hermes is not a healer. In the ancient pantheon, titles matter, and Hermes holds a portfolio that should terrify anyone lying on an operating table. Hermes is the god of commerce. He is the patron saint of merchants, liars, thieves, and gamblers. He is the trickster god. He is the deity of the deal. Why would an institution, theoretically dedicated to the preservation of human life, adopt the sigil of the god of profit? Because the system we live in, the system that was solidified in the early 20th century, is not designed to cure you. It is designed to bill you. When you walk into a hospital under the banner of the caduceus, you are not entering a sanctuary. You are entering a marketplace. Your body is the product. Your illness is the commodity. And the doctor, whether he knows it or not, is the merchant. The caduceus is a sigil that transforms the sacred act of healing into a transactional exchange. It ensures that for every unit of health you regain, a unit of currency must be extracted. But the rabbit hole goes much darker than just money. Money is just the physical manifestation of energy. The true currency of this reality is louche, suffering, confusion, and the soul itself. Hermes had another role, a role that is far more specific and far more terrifying for a patient in critical condition. Hermes was the psychopomp. The word psychopomp comes from the Greek psyche.
What should we make for, like, food?
Any chicken McNuggets left?
No. I was thinking I would drive, but I think it's a little snowy right now, and I don't want to risk it.
You know, I was thinking of going and getting some half and half too, because I'm out of coffee, so I guess we could go to the store. I'll drive.
Okay. I'm gonna go put abroad. Is it okay if I go on my pajamas? I don't think so.
No, don't go on your pajamas. I don't like when people do that.
Okay.
Alright. You got plenty of time. Half hour. Okay.
That vehicle is the mark of the entity who guides you to the grave. It is a subconscious signal to your spirit that the extraction process has begun. The rod of Asclepius, the true healer, is grounded. It is a walking stick connected to the earth. The caduceus has wings. It is ready to fly away. It represents the disconnect. It represents the soul leaving the vessel. When the US Army adopted this symbol in 1902, it was not a mistake. It was a ritualistic opening of the gates. It marked the transition from the era of the alchemist to the era of the petrochemical sorcerer. Before this shift, medicine was about harmony using frequencies, plants, and the body's own electric capacity to heal itself. It was about sovereignty. But the turn of the 20th century